guys, welcome to another session of Women's Growth Series. I'm Margarita Randell. I work with Global Equity Finance as their COO. And today we're going to be going over mortgage resiliency and kind of staying strong here. The reason why being resilient and being able to adapt is super important in this industry is because it is ever changing. You know, anything that we are doing now, something might flip over, the economy might kind of shift, or guidelines, change at any moment. You have to be able to adapt. And you have to be able to rise even when things shift. So I started in the mortgage industry probably about 16 years ago. I started out in sales. I have sales background my entire life. I started with Town and Country Credit, is a subsidiary of AmeriQuest. Sales there, and at some point I just kind of feel burnout. I wanted to change. I liked the mortgage industry. I liked that it was super high energy. Things were always changing. I guess I kind of like that. That I was, could learn. I like challenges. And the CEO of Global Equity Finance, he had an opening in an ops department, and it was completely entry level. So I applied. I actually had to apply. I had to interview, and thankfully I got the job. Yay! And I started at the bottom in a program analyst position. We did kind of pricing, pre-qualifying. There I learned how to structure loans. And I liked being able to do this with kind of my sales background because it made me want to structure loans in a way that was, where my loan officers would be able to sell them. So as much as my loan officer would ask for a certain program, I would look at the entire profile of the file. And if I was selling it, what would I want to do? Maybe we could even give them another scenario for cash out, giving the borrower more options. So absolutely, I kind of fell into operations that way, and I liked it. I continued to enjoy ops. And then at some point back then, we were able to order our own appraisals, and our volume started to increase. And the CEO pretty much said, hey, let's open up, let's have an appraisal division where you will handle all the appraisal orders. You will develop relationships with our appraisers, track everything, stay organized, create a pipeline. And, I kind of lived out of Excel. I love Excel. And I started doing that. It was a great challenge. I was able to kind of put my sales back into there and, develop relationships with appraisers. I like the operation part of being able to have pipelines and even just develop my own department and my own process. Always challenge myself to, beat the turn times. If there's any sort of roadblock or any issues, it was just a challenge for me to want to beat it and kind of fix it, which I absolutely loved. And then at some point, the market started to shift. I think this is around that 2007, 2008 kind of crash that happened. Like when New Century closed down, I actually remember where I was when that happened. And we kind of, shrank a little bit, and we had to, kind of go back to basics. We went from, I think at the time it was an 8 loan officer team, went down to like 2. Our operations team kind of dropped to me and an actual senior processor. And then I had to learn how to do the junior processing aspect. So I kind of did the front end, and then the processor did the back end from processing all the way to funding. And then I took on from pre-qualifying into appraisals and, file setup. And that was just another kind of thing for me to learn. I liked it. I liked the challenge. I always like learning new things. And then, the, industry kind of shrank down again. And at some point, Cornell, our CEO, had to essentially say, well, we're going to drop down to 3 people and we're going to move to San Diego. So is it going to be you who doesn't know how to process, or is it going to be the processor? And I told them that I will learn how to process. I was up for the challenge. I felt that I could do it. So here I am as a processor with no processing experience. What I did is I kind of learned from the back, and then pushed it to the front. So we had a very amazing escrow officer at the time. Her name is Monica. Still remember her to this day. I'm very appreciative of her. She was amazing, and she answered any questions I had on how to have that perfect loan funding, how to have that perfect set of docs. And when I learned that aspect, I kind of started moving forward in my processing on what I needed to do to end up in that perfect, loan funding. I didn't have any issues or any ego problems being able to call underwriters and ask a million questions. Even if I got the answer I wanted or the answer to the question, but I didn't like the answer, I would go and find another way to, I would find another way to get through it. To me, as much as a loan file goes from A to Z, I feel like there's 14 different routes to get there. And just because, I get a no doesn't mean that I can't, find another way around. So I was definitely doing a lot of research, a lot of Googling, a lot of calling my account executives, calling my underwriters. And I think that also helped me learn, first of all, but then also create the relationships with them just as much as I did it with my appraisers back then, right? So I never had a problem looking for not just the answer, but also the answer that I wanted. And then knowing all aspects and finding out kind of the whys behind things, it helped me be able to create the entire processing path from beginning to end. So why do I need this item? What will it do down the line? How will it give me that perfect smooth loan funding? So I applied it all the way from the beginning, from application through pre-qualifying, ordering my appraisals, junior processing, my processing with my underwriting, into working with Monica when we have to close the loans, and then working with our investors again with funding. That's just kind of how I learned how to process. That's how my style is of just even trying to learn anything or create anything, just really wanting to create that perfect process, that perfect path. And then at that point we started to grow, yay. And I remember when I was trying to close 15 loans in 1 month, and we started hitting that, and we started hitting 20. And then, Cornell was like, hey, it's time for one other processor. So we hired another processor, and I even had a front end person who did the pre-qualifying and the junior processing. And then as we continue to grow, I ended up kind of managing them. And as we continue to grow, we just kind of, it wasn't super slow, but we started to kind of take off, where I started having I started managing a processing department. And then I had my front end production, or front end processing. So I was kind of watching both. At the time, I kind of had this luxury of being able to do it a little bit slower, my processors. So I was able to spend a lot of time with them and just kind of cloning myself into them. I feel like pipeline meetings are everything, with being able to develop my people. I feel like it bonds us. We get to, learn each other's strengths, weaknesses. I could teach them everything that I know. They teach me, some pitfalls I didn't know about. And then I started to learn how to really kind of switch from the doing the job to teaching and managing, and having a new purpose in not just, hitting numbers, but really developing, my people and my babies to be successful. I think that was a complete mental shift with me, that it was now my new high. That was my new challenge, because I had such a great opportunity here, being able to kind of rise in every aspect, and being able to develop, the departments that I've had, or the people that I've had under me, into that is kind of became my new fulfillment. And then at some point, Dodd-Frank hit, and and then TRID hit. So as I developed my processing team, we went from broker to non-del. And at that time, our CEO was like, well, now we need a closing department. So you're going to learn how to handle our docking, with our investors, handle our warehouse, our funding, our post-close and purchase. This is a completely new realm, and you're going to develop it. So I was like, okay, something new to do. I felt my processors were doing well. I could still kind of oversee them. If they have questions, I'm there for them. Now I had a new, kind of new baby, new project. And again, it just went back to the basics of what makes that perfect. So now my end goal is getting that perfect loan purchase. So then I'm talking to my investors, I'm talking to my account executives, I'm talking to my title teams, learning how to get that perfect file, and then creating a process for that to get to that perfect, back end product. I did sign up with a third party vendor for a little bit so I could learn, and then I had a little bit of a safety net, so there's no problem with that. But I didn't rely on them to do it. I was watching them and asking questions along the way so that I would learn how to do it. So again, it was just back to, I didn't care if I was, the top person in ops. I didn't know the answer. I'm going to go find it. I didn't mind telling people that this is new for me. What is the best, practice? What do you suggest? And, kind of piecing together and making the style and process perfect for our company. And then TRID hit, and all the compliance regulations hit. And so at that point, I had developed a closing team. I had a good lead. Cornell's like, well, now I want you to handle compliance. So it's not really my favorite part, but Trade was new. The LEs and CDs were really scary. So if I'm going to trust anyone to do it, it was going to be me. So I hopped in there and I was asking a lot of questions with our investors, looking for our third-party auditors, asking a ton of questions there, talking to our post-closing teams with our different investors, looking at the process, how we could start from, our initial disclosures all the way to the end, trainings, Googling, any kind of trainings that we could do, reaching out to our LOSs for any trainings there, and really developing that again. Creating relationships with, locating the third-party compliance team, and then even creating relationships with our post-closers and their, predatory testing teams, and being able to create and forge those kind of relationships so that later down the line, again, if I have more questions, I feel that we can, collaborate and I can go to them. And then we started to continue to grow. And then Cornell's like, well, you're doing really well, handling compliance, closing, processing. Let's look at our junior processing department, our transaction coordinating department. Let's look at that again. So then I started to kind of gobble the departments back up, went back into TC world and our junior processing world and kind of looked at their process, seeing how we can, any kind of double processing that we're doing, any double data entry, anything that kind of looks that, where I could shave off, seconds, minutes. I started doing that within our junior processing land. And then some people kind of looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why would you care to save 4 seconds? For me, it was 4 seconds for every file, for every person forever is going to save us more time. So I didn't care if I was saving 4 seconds or 20 minutes or 3 hours or 3 days. To me, I wanted to look at, the process, being able to shave off and save time. And so I did that with our transaction coordinating. And then I was kind of like, well, let's go back into processing and do that. And so I went back into processing and I did that. Went into closing and then redid that. So I like to always kind of loop back and see where we could shave off, where we could always get better. Because to me, as much as I might have gotten the process more efficient, as this industry, it always shifts, right? Things change. We got to be able to adapt to it. We got to be able to go back and revisit and review the process and look for ways to shave anything off, to save time, because time is efficiency, and more, saving time, saving efficiency is more loans. At some point, probably about 10 years in, knowing everything in our company, I even did sales director for a little bit, which is like the funny joke. But knowing this company really well and being here for so long, I ended up just kind of inheriting all the operations department. And so that's how I became COO. It's always a daily challenge. It's something that I am very proud of. And I love that, as the company continues to grow, as things have shifted in our industry, things even shifted within our company, we're always going to rise to it. We're always going to adapt. And I think that's super important in being able to sustain that kind of age and like not age, but I think that's really important in being able to sustain a career here, as well as even just kind of not even keeping a company like just going, but also wanting to grow it, and then growing your departments, growing your people in their success and in their careers. Throughout my career, with a lot of changes, a lot of people that have come in and out of this company, shifts in our company, shifting from broker to non-Del, COVID and that pandemic happening, us wanting to scale, our new company goals and what our CEO wants. Has my confidence ever wavered? I'm human. Yes, it has. There are days where I question whether or not I can do this, and I think that's normal. I don't think I'm a weak person for that. I don't think I'm not cut out for the job. I just think that is a normal thing to feel. The way I get through it is, number one, I think I have a really good support system. I have a really great supportive team here at this company. I have a very supportive boss. I think it's kind of rare for a woman to be like in a position that I am in this industry, which is a little bit sad. But thankfully, Cornell has been nothing but the most supportive and encouraging. Even the times where I question myself, he's kind of like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're great at this. Fix it. You got this. And then also my support system at home. I have a really awesome husband who understands that this company is, a really big priority, but he's also really proud of what he has seen in the growth of this company. And so he's kind of proud and encouraging, for me to continue doing this. And then there's also, I also have my team. I have the people that I manage, my babies, as much as I support them, there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And, sometimes they give me a pep talk when they say, stop questioning it. You're amazing, or you do this for us, and, keep moving and keep going. We got this together. Just knowing that we're a solid team within this organization, within my departments, even at home, is super huge. And then also, to be honest, the person who talks to me the most is me. So it's really about the narrative that I tell myself. I can continue to tell myself that I'm not cut out for this, or maybe someone will do this better, or this project is too hard, there's no solutions. I can say that to myself, or I can change my narrative. And I can say that I can find a solution. There is a way around it. I don't know is not an answer. Let's go find out what the answers are. If this is the roadblock, how do we get around it? Or I can do this. I can, learn to manage a certain type of person. I can develop a team. I can, produce this, amazing new process that we're doing, or I can, find a way to save 20 minutes on a file, things like that. From small things to large things, it's really what I tell myself. I think that's the biggest part of being able to get through any shaky confidence issues is really it's really me. It's what I tell myself. I'm the one who talks to myself the most. I tell my son that. You're the one who talks to yourself the most. Make sure that your story, your narrative, the conversation you have with yourself is going to be good, positive, and strong. Advice I would give myself in the past, or anyone that's starting in this industry, is that anything is possible. And it really is about your gut. It's about your work ethic. It's really the conscious decision that you choose to do every day, the morning that you wake up, every hour. If you had a bad hour, the next hour, it is your conscious decision that you can get through it. Whether it's starting the whole business, that's got to be scary. But knowing that if you just keep at it, you don't give up, and you are constantly asking questions, if you don't have, your ego in the way, to be honest, to be able to ask those questions, you'll be able to find all the answers and all the solutions that you can get through anything. Another piece of advice that I would give is to have a thick skin and not take things personal. I don't feel that. If there are people that are doing things to you, you can kind of remove toxic people from your, organization. But, as things change, if things shift in the industry, if a guideline, hits, or I have a new underwriting team, with this investor, nothing's being done to me. And just really not taking it personally, and having a thick skin, and having, kind of like the backbone to just kind of stand up again, stand up straight, stand up proud, and, just kind of break through it. That if you do just do that every day, you will be successful. Thank you so much for joining us today. You could also watch previous episodes on YouTube, and be sure to tune in next week for next week's topic.